It's great to have Nick Silcock here from Townscape Architects in Harrogate. Nick, thanks very much indeed for sparing the time to come in.
No problem, Alex. Delighted to meet you.
Thanks very much. Just talk us through, because again, there's a lot of confusion out there. You hear all these sort of job titles and job terms. Just sort of steer everyone in the right direction here. I always hear sort of there's the architects, there's the technologist, and there's the planning consultant. What do these people do? How do they all sort of fit together on the architectural side of things and what you do?
Okay, so there is vast differences between the architect, the architectural technologist, and the planning consultant.
Yeah.
Generally, your architect will have studied at university for 7 years and will be very design focused. He will study a Bachelor of Arts qualification, and he will be there to open up your vision for a property, for a piece of land,
Yeah.
for a development that you have in mind, and he will be able to pick up an idea and run with it to deliver that vision.
So he's almost the artist, if you like.
He's the artist, he's the creative guy. He will also probably have the skill set to take that vision through the planning process, through the technical design process, and be able to provide all the services that you need to deliver a construction project from that initial conception through to the last nut and bolt and sweeping up on site.
And that's you.
That's me. That's
Done.
what an architect can do.
So then on the technologist side, who are they?
So
How
an
do they fit in?
architectural technologist, generally they will study for around 4 years.
Yeah.
They study a Bachelor of Science qualification, so they are far more technical in their skill set. So a successful architectural practice is likely to employ a technologist to be able to deliver the technical aspects, the technical drawings, and provide the firepower behind the scenes to actually do the drawings. So very much less, or generally less, design orientated, but they have a very strong skill set then in the technical understanding of how buildings go together.
Yeah, so it's to do with the more sort of the engineering, the build of it, and how it's actually all going to come together, the jigsaw part of it.
Absolutely.
And then the other bit, as we said, was that it was the planning consultant. What do they actually do at the end?
Okay, so planning consultants, they're often used, and we would work with a planning consultant on those sites where they are harder to achieve planning permission. Either the local residents are adverse to some kind of development on a site, and so there's lots of objections, or alternatively, the site goes against planning policy, as in the local council, the local planning department will have a policy that says how a piece of land should be used. If you then go against that policy, then a planning consultant can be used to interpret the policy and to put together a case to demonstrate that actually the proposal that is being put forward is fit for that site. So an architect can often work with a planning consultant side by side. The architect would have the vision, the creativity, and will do the drawings and designs, whereas the planning consultant is very much more policy driven. They are experts in the legal side of it. Absolutely. So we work with a consultant to deliver on those more harder to achieve sites.
No, indeed. No, some great explanations there. Thanks very much. And fine, there are a couple of architects sort of in and around town. What do homeowners need to look for in an architect? I dare say it varies on the project type, but what are the key differences? What are the pitfalls to avoid, if you like?
Okay, so when you're picking your architect for your project, bear in mind you're going to be working with your architect for 1 year to 2 years, depending on the nature of the project. So the first thing is you need to make sure you get on with your architect. You need to trust him to deliver your vision, to actually do what he says he's going to do. So first and foremost, make sure you like the architect, make sure you get on with him, make sure he's on your wavelength. The next thing to do is to look at what the architect does. Does he do a project like the one that you want to undertake? So, for example, if he only builds high-rise apartments and you want a cosy extension on the back of your house, perhaps not the best match in terms of an architect. So look at what that architect does. Look at the types of projects he's undertaken in the past. Does the style of how he designs meet your style, your vision of what you want to achieve on your project? And then perhaps ask for references for the architect. A good architect will be willing to provide references of customers and clients they worked with. Speak to those references, check out this architect, and also just check the architect's qualification that they are registered with the necessary bodies. The Architects Registration Board would hold details of that architect's qualification. To be called an architect, it's a protected title, and that architect will be registered on the ARB website.
Just talk through the process of getting planning and what it entails, and surveys and costs, and just give people a bit of an idea of what to expect.
Okay, so in terms of the process of design and the project would always start with the client's brief. The brief is a vision of what you want to achieve. It can be a technical document with setting out a list of criteria of what you want to achieve on your project, or it could be a series of images, a scrapbook almost, of pictures of properties that you like, things you don't like also, because if you want your architect to understand who you are and what you want to achieve, show him the pictures of things you like, things you don't like, and he or she can quite easily pick up on your style and your preferred choice of design.
So then you get the drawings made up, and then when it's time to go to, in this instance, Harrogate Borough Council, what's the process and the timeline involved there?
So the next step of the process really is, once you've got the brief refined and it's a working document with your architect, it's a very important document that sets out where you see the project going. The architect can then start his process of surveying the property, because your architect would need a set of plans to work from in the first instance, to then be able to develop and design ideas with you, to then move the project forward through the creative design phase. The creative design phase is the really interesting part of the project. This is where we churn out the ideas, we work with you, we use our expertise and vision for your property to actually push design to the absolute limits, and with you we will work with you to design and develop the optimum layout for your house. That will then be used to prepare a planning application, and a planning application for a typical domestic project is 8 weeks.
Fine. And then after that 8 weeks, all being well, the council say, yes, happy to approve that, and you can get on with the building works as soon as that's come through.
There are a few more milestones to achieve after that.
It's not as straightforward as that.
Yeah, I wish it was. So the next stages after that are to prepare the more technical drawings that you will need, that a builder would need to build from.
Okay.
So he'll need to understand how is the house built, what type of materials, what type of products, what type of insulation, for example. That is called the building regulations phase. So your architect or technologist will prepare your technical drawings at that stage, and they are submitted to the council or to a building inspector for an approval of those plans. At that point, you can then start to obtain quotes from builders based upon those drawings, and when you're ready to start work, it's about informing building control that you're commencing on site 48 hours in advance.
Crikey. So it's a bit more complicated than I think everyone first thinks, because it's, as I said in the first sentence, it's all well and good thinking you're going to go and get planning for that extension, but there's quite a lot of steps to go through.
Other steps after it to go through, but an architect will be able to guide you through those steps to make your life simpler.
I suppose just flipping it back the other way, we've obviously seen the rise of George Clark on Amazing Spaces, for example, and I suppose the obvious question is, well, look, Nick, it's all well and good talking through all of that. Do I actually need an architect at the end of the day for an extension? Again, I hear on TV it must be so easy. George Clark says, oh, you know what, let's go and build and let's do something, and it's all within this sort of new permitted development rules. Where does George stop and you guys take over?
Okay, so you're in the industry, Alex. You'll know that a well-designed property is going to be worth more. It's going to sell quicker. It's going to get more inquiries. Yep. So a well-designed property is worth the investment. So an architect will go above and beyond. Your property will achieve that next level. It will be designed, it will be executed to the highest of standards. The space will be utilized in every direction. It'll be a space you get enjoyment from.
And where do you stand with the permitted development? Because I know it's beyond a certain size that you then have to go through the full, say, planning process, but up until that point you can get away with it, and you can sort of, I suppose, slightly sneak it in, if you like, as a lot of people think about it.
No, you can't sneak it in. The permitted development is a set criteria, basically, of you have to keep within a certain height, a certain size, certain distance from the boundary, and you can generally build a small scale extension under permitted development.
Sort of conservatory type thing.
Generally. Some houses have their permitted development rights removed, so be very cautious of that, in that it doesn't apply to every single house, and it doesn't or can't be applied sometimes to very bespoke houses. that have developed over a number of years, have been extended previously. So always tread with caution. The permitted development rights are great. It does give you an excellent opportunity to extend a house without having to go through the planning process. So they can be a great opportunity. However, tread with caution and seek advice before you actually start building.
Some great thoughts there, thank you. And again, you've got the planning permission, for example, you now want to build it out. Again, it's a split choice decision. Some people say, well, I want my architect to, yourself, just to sort of, if you like, project manage and sort of oversee it all, and other people sort of say, well, thanks Nick, thanks for doing that, and then they sort of ship it out to the builders. What are the pros and cons of doing this? And I guess you guys drew the plans, you know what's going on.
It goes down to your experience. Have you built something before? If we've prepared all the drawings, and a competent set of drawings could be passed to a competent builder to build from without that project management service. But do you have that link with the builder? Do you have that relationship and trust with the builder that they're going to do a great job for you? Are you able to monitor the quality of the work on the site? Are you comfortable with what you're getting from the builder, and are you comfortable that you're paying them the right amount of money? So your architect or your architectural practice will be able to guide you through the process in terms of the tender process, in terms of finding you a builder, finding the right builder for that project, and then to manage the payment so you're never paying out more than you should be to the builder, and also checking the quality of the work along the way.
It comes back to exactly what I've always been saying to people. It's experience. You have the experience of knowing what to look for. It's exactly the same on the estate agency side. If you've built up that time and experience within that, and you know now what you're doing, you're fully able to advise clients, because if you know, you know, and if you don't, you're going to be left out in the cold, as they say. I suppose a lot of people, think that architect, not particularly glamorous, you're stuck in the back office sort of thing. How would you counteract that?
Architecture is a wonderful business. We work with such a wide range of people. We get to meet a wide range of people, ranging from people who want to extend or renovate a house up to, we work a lot with charities, and working with charities is great because they need a guiding hand through projects. And through the charity projects we've worked on, we've then got to meet quite a few celebrities and royals at openings.
Go on, Nick. Let's drop a few names in.
Not drop a few names. Okay, Princess Anne opened a building for us last June. That was great.
Which you designed? Which
we designed. Yeah, I had a really interesting 5 to 10 minute conversation with her on tarmac and what specification of tarmac was used in the car park. AP McCoy was at the opening as well, along with other racing celebrities. And Sophie Countess of Wessex also opened a project for us in Cookeridge 3 years ago. So met some wonderful people along the way.
Well, look at you. Well, some fantastic tips and tricks there for architects. And if you want to, I suppose, drop Nick a line and hang out with some of his royal clientele, what is the best way to reach you?
Website is townscape-architects.co.uk. Phone number 01423 505 924.
Nick, fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Alex.